Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Have you ever caught yourself looking at another guy and thinking, man, he's got it all together? He's confident, successful, the kind of guy everyone seems to admire. And then, almost like clockwork, this little voice creeps in. You'll never measure up. It's a gut punch. That feeling of separation, that sense of being less than. It's something I have felt more times than I can count. But here is the truth. We are all more alike than we think. And today, I want to talk about how we can break down those walls of separation, stop the comparison game, and start seeing ourselves and others more clearly. Because when we do, we step into connection, belonging, and the fullness of who God created us to be. My name is Jason Mellard. I am a certified high-performance coach, husband material coach, and the founder of Own Your Identity. I'm committed to empowering men to live beyond their unwanted same-sex attractions and into their purpose through the power of Christ and for the glory of God. When I was growing up, I wanted to be like the other guys, the confident guys who seemed to know who they were and where they were going. I would pay attention to how they acted, how they spoke, and what they wore. There was one friend of mine who had the coolest jean jacket, I thought. He wore it with this effortless confidence. I thought, if I could just get a jacket like that, maybe I would feel more like him, more like a man, more like I belonged. And so I begged my parents for one. When I finally got it, I wore it all the time. But here's the thing. Even with that jacket, I still felt like I wasn't enough. I remember looking in the mirror, hoping to see someone who fit in. But instead, I just saw a kid that was trying too hard. That jacket didn't give me the confidence I thought it would. It just reminded me how far I felt from being truly accepted. I was chasing this idea of belonging, of being the man I thought I needed to be, but it always felt just out of reach. In contrast, a few months ago, my 5-year-old son came up to me with this big grin on his face and said, "Dad, can we wear matching clothes today?" It was a Sunday morning, and he had his blue checkered shirt on. I went to grab a similar shirt of mine. We wore jeans and Nike shoes. And he wasn't trying to prove anything. He wasn't trying to be something he didn't think he was. He just wanted to connect. He just wanted to say, "Dad, you're like me. I'm like you." And that hit me, because it wasn't about approval or fitting in. It was about love. It was about belonging, not through conformity, but through authenticity. Belonging doesn't come from changing ourselves to fit in like I was trying to do. It comes from embracing who we are and inviting others into that space, like my son did. Whether it's with your family, your friends, or the men you admire, one of the most powerful things that you can say is, "You're like me, and I'm like you." Because when we show up authentically, we give permission to other people to do the same. But I spent much of my life, like I said, building a pedestal for what my friends call the high value man. He's the guy that seems like he has it all together. I would find him jogging shirtless on the street, on the cover of GQ magazine, or leading a board meeting. And I would think, he has something I don't. I'm not enough, and I'll never measure up. And when I do that, it causes problems, and it limits the fullness of life. So I want to talk about a few of those problems, some of those limitations it brings, because sometimes when I see the pain behind something, I'm a little bit more motivated to change. I believe that when we don't consider ourselves on equal standing with other men, the following things can happen. It can limit our ability to love them and speak into their life. It hinders our connection with them and our enjoyment of them. We give our power over to the other person, and we hope for the best instead of putting our confidence in Christ. It keeps us in our heads, and I think that's bad because we show up less fully in life, and we're more driven to escape. We are less present in giving with others. It wastes our energy striving, which doesn't give us permission to just be. I always wanted to just be, but I didn't know how. Also, to be honest, I think it grieves God because He created us uniquely, each one of us, on purpose. And He did it with excitement and anticipation for how we would live out in that. When we put others on pedestals, we create this false sense of separation. We start to think, he's up there and I'm down here. But that's not reality. The reality is, we're all walking this journey together. We all have strengths and weaknesses. We all have moments of confidence and moments of doubt. And when we start to see that, we can stop comparing and start connecting. I'd like to share 4 frameworks with you. 1, the 2 stories that are common to all men. 2, the myth of perfection. 3, the power of service. And 4, a call to celebrate progress. The 2 human stories. Here's something that changed the way I see other men. Every single one of them, whether you admire them, envy them, or even judge them, is living out the same 2 stories that we are: struggle and progress. These are universal human experiences. Struggle is the part where we face challenges, doubts, and setbacks. Progress is the part where we rise, learn, and grow. And you can't have one without the other. And we want these things. We want adventure. We want risk. We want to push ourselves and move outside of our comfort zone. And the man that you think has it all together, he struggles too. Maybe he's fought battles that you can't see. Maybe he's still fighting them. When we recognize this shared story, it connects us. It reminds us that we're not alone in our challenges, and it gives us permission to honor our own progress without feeling less than. I want you to know that you're not behind, you're not broken, you're just living the same story as everybody else. Struggle and progress, over and over again. But the best part is when we invite Christ into the journey, allowing us to lean on his strength and be fueled by his love. And it can inspire us to move towards him and to share with others what he has done in our lives in the journey. The myth of perfection. Perfection is a myth. It's a lie we tell ourselves when we look at somebody else's highlight reel and compare it to our behind-the-scenes mess. I know this is common sense, but common sense is not always common practice. We know that success is not about being born with some magical innate talent. It's about practice, exposure, and growth. It's about showing up, failing, learning, and trying again. When you see a man who seems perfect, don't let that turn into self-doubt. Instead, let it inspire you. Ask yourself, what can I learn from him? How can I grow in my own way? Admiration doesn't have to lead to comparison. It can lead to action. And when you focus on your own growth, wherever you are in the journey, you'll realize that perfection is not the goal. Progress is. The power of service. When you feel disconnected, less than, or like you don't measure up, here is a powerful shift. Stop focusing on yourself and start focusing on others. Ask yourself, how can I serve? Maybe it's as simple as offering a kind word, helping a friend, or showing up for somebody who needs support. Service reminds us of our value. It pulls us out of the spiral of self-doubt and reconnects us to something bigger. When you serve, you're not just helping others. You're reminding yourself that you have something to give. And that's where connection and confidence grow. A call to celebrate progress. Here's a challenge for you today. Grab a piece of paper, get your phone, and write down 3 qualities that you admire in another guy. Maybe it's their confidence, their kindness, their creativity, or their work ethic. Then write down 3 qualities that you admire in yourself. And I want you to reflect on how these qualities can coexist without comparison. Hold them up next to each other and just allow them all to be there. Reach out to somebody else also that you admire and share something you appreciate about them is the next step. That's a simple act, but it reinforces the truth that we've been talking about. I'm like you and you're like me. We get to offer that as a gift to other people, not just reminding ourselves of that truth. I want you to know that your worth is not diminished by somebody else's strengths. It's amplified when we embrace our own strengths. So instead of focusing on what you think you lack, start celebrating what you have. You're fearfully and wonderfully made, and the world needs what only you can offer. And here is the ultimate example of what it means to be a high-value man. Revelation 19 paints this incredible picture of Jesus, riding on a white horse called Faithful and True, with eyes like blazing fire and crowned with many crowns. He is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the ultimate embodiment of power, justice, and glory. But here is what is crazy. The same Jesus who reigns in majesty chose to humble himself. Isaiah 53, it tells us he had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. He was despised, rejected, and familiar with suffering. He became an ordinary man, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He wanted to bridge the gap, to reunite us with him, and to show us that we are loved, valued, and never alone. Jesus didn't come to compare himself to us or to stand above us. He came to walk with us. The God of the universe came to walk alongside us. And in doing so, he gave us the ultimate example of humility, connection, and love. He takes our sin upon himself when we put our love and trust in him, so that when God looks at us, he sees Christ. And when that happens, he says to us, "You're like me." And he likes that. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you're enjoying this content, please leave a 5-star rating and a review. I'm glad that you're on this journey with me. I'm having a blast, and I hope you are too. And lastly, if you want to walk with a group of like-minded men with similar stories to live out your full potential in Christ, I invite you to join my next coaching group. Go to ownyouridentitynow.com/group coaching to learn more and book a free discovery session. I'll talk with you soon. God bless.